where we invite one of the CEOs as the speaker. So very warm welcome to everyone. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. My name is Sanjeev Singh. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Wipro and based out of Bangalore. I'm also a member of CII Karnataka Council and the Southern India Council of CII. And I'm also the chairperson of the CII Karnataka CEO Forum. So today we have a very distinguished speaker with us, Mr. Srikar Reddy. And let me do a small brief introduction of him so that everyone knows a little bit about him. Srikar is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Sonata Software Limited. And he is member of the Board of Directors of Sonata Software. He is an alumnus of NIT Trichy and of IIM Kolkata. Srikar has been with Sonata since 1986 and is pivotal in building Sonata as a trusted and reliable IT solutions company. Srikar's philosophy of driving business growth through a single-minded focus on customer and investment in people and technology has made Sonata one of the fastest growing IT solutions company. Srikar has now set Sonata on a new growth path with a unique proprietary approach to creating digital businesses called Platformation. And the topic we have today is related to that. In the last 10 years, between 2012 to date, since Srikar became the CEO of the company, Sonata has seen its revenues, profits multiply many times and a market cap growing over 40 times, making Sonata a $1 billion USD market value company. Sonata's growth over past 10 years is now widely recognized, and Srikar has been featured recently in the list of India's 10 most valuable CEOs in the large enterprise category by Business World. He has also been featured by Business Today as leading one of India's fastest growing emerging companies. Fortune magazine has featured Srikar in India's top 100 wealth creators 2 years in a row in July 2021. So Srikar has been conferred with the Distinguished Alumnus Award by NIT Trichy, as well as Distinguished Alumnus Award by IIM Calcutta for his contribution to industry and corporate. And both are institutions of great repute. And these awards coming from both NIT Trichy and IIM Calcutta is tremendous recognition of the quality of work Srikar has done in the Indian corporate sector. Today, Srikar will be speaking on the theme Digital Transformation, a CXO playbook, leveraging platform-based business models. And I think that would be, that's a very interesting topic, a very relevant topic for a lot of us. Srikar will speak for maybe about half an hour, and then we will have sufficient time for questions and answers. During the session, I request everyone to keep your systems on mute. During this period, you can post questions on the chat window, or you can ask questions yourself at the end. Both options are okay. But if you have any questions, comments, perspectives, feel free to post the questions on the chat window. And I mean, while he's speaking, we'll avoid the Q&A because we have sufficient time at the end. However, if there are some clarification questions, please feel free to ask. That should be okay. And I highly encourage people to ask any number of questions and make use of Srikar's presence on this call. So with that, Srikar, thanks once again for being part of this session and looking forward to some good perspectives coming from you. So over to you, Srikar.
All right, thanks. Looks like I'm finding it a little difficult to get the... Right, I got that now. Okay.
Okay.
Can this slide deck, is that slide deck visible?
Not yet, Srikar.
Okay. Is it now visible?
No, not yet.
Okay. Is the share screen feature working? 1 sec.
Yeah, now something is coming. Yes, we can see the screen, Srikar.
Oh, it says start digital transformation through platform business.
That is correct. And if you can put it on slideshow mode, then it'll be that much better. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. So got that. Excellent. Okay, so everybody can see this. Hello?
Yes, we can see.
Excellent. Okay, and I'm assuming you can all hear me. So yeah, thank you, Sanjeev, for the nice introduction, and thank you to CII for inviting me today to share my thoughts on, I think, what has been a favorite topic of me for the last now for 5 years, and thanks to all the people who have joined the forum today. My objective is really, I think, obviously there are, 3 or 4 aspects which I would like to cover. One is, this is now, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years since we talked about it, has become quite mainstream. I do know that there are some leading management institutes who are today actually offering a course on platform-based businesses, etc. But I'll still try to introduce, from a concept of where is this coming from and why do we think it is relevant, and then really talk about some, implementation aspects of how can one go about doing it. It's not going to be too technical from a technology point of view, but it could be a little bit of technical from a process and a methodology point of view, but I would not go into too much detail. So, and if there are any clarifications, feel free to ask me, and then really show some examples of what does it look like kind of stuff. I'm not taking examples of an end-to-end creation of digital transformation by implementing platform businesses in the real world or in the brick and mortar world. Of course, there are plenty of examples of companies who have done it in the born digital world. More importantly, I think like to keep this as interactive as possible. These are really points of view, sharing of ideas. So would be very happy to exchange thoughts, clarify, but more importantly, see your points of view. How do you look at it? Have you tried it? All that kind of stuff. So let's keep it as interesting and innovative as possible. And I hope I should complete my talk in about 30 minutes, and we should have about 20 minutes for a dialogue towards the end of the session. So as Sanjeev said, the topic is really digital transformation through creation of platform-based businesses by using what are called platform business models. And where I'm coming from is that, this, I think, concept evolved about 4 or 5 years ago when the World Economic Forum came up with a concept called Industry 4.0. And one of the main themes in that was what they referred to called platform economies. And they said that these platform economies, I think the number was about $5 trillion or whatever of value, will create about $50 trillion in the next 20 years. So that really, I think, set the world thinking in terms of, if that's the kind of, and there are, I mean, obviously plenty of examples that, companies like whatever, Amazon and, I mean, they're all now like $1 trillion market value companies. But even then, they had over a period of 10, 15 years had created values, which I think people like General Motors and all that took maybe 100 years to create, kind of stuff. So there was a very clear direction that this is true, that that there is this kind of value which will be created going forward. So that I think got a lot of people thinking about if this is the kind of value which is going to be created, then how do traditional businesses, I think, who are born in the brick and mortar world, who are popularly were referred to as, pipe-based business models, as opposed to a platform-based business, can actually participate in this kind of a platform revolution and create value for themselves. So that's was really the, I would say, the background. And as I said, yeah, I mean, companies like Amazon, Airbnb, Uber, Expedia, etc., and there are a lot of them, I think, everywhere now, including India, in the recent past, have created extremely successful digital businesses. So and the research which looked into it came out of why were they successful. Obviously, they had no legacy, so that was the biggest advantage they had. But more importantly, I think they had an idea to disrupt an existing business by creating a new business model. And what facilitated that was really the availability of a lot of technologies which were not hitherto available, whether it was cloud or mobile devices, connectivity, intelligence, and ability to scale businesses. I mean, these kind of people who could scale their businesses from 100 to 1,000 to 1 million, not even revenue. I'm talking about number of participants who participated on the platform. So it was an infinitely scalable platform. So that's how we said that. I mean, one of the key takeaways is, while you reimagine your business from a business model perspective, you also, if you want to implement a technology-based approach to solving that problem, you need to imagine that the platform which you create becomes very core for you doing the business. So that's I think one of the the success has really emerged from creating holistic businesses and not taking businesses as silos, creating ecosystems, getting more and more participants to engage on the platform, understanding value drivers for various participants to participate in the platform, and continuing to get more and more, participants into the ecosystem, and obviously then using the intelligence which they gathered from all the transactions which were happening to see what else they could do for all the participants in the ecosystem. So while we said, so this should apply really to traditional or a real world retailer or a service company or a bank or whatever it is, to see how do they compete with these people, how can they, I mean, assuming that this is the right way to do it, what should they be doing or how should they be doing? Because the problem with most existing businesses is they have a lot of legacy. They have legacy in terms of technology, they have legacy in terms of people, they have a legacy in terms of the business process, and they have a legacy in terms of the business model itself. So how can they adopt these things and will relooking at their whole digital strategy from a platform-based strategy, will it work for them? So that's really the hypothesis. And of course, there are, semi examples of companies who have, transformed themselves by looking at these kind of platform-based businesses, even the born in the digital world companies, and have created a huge kind of a growth. And I think the recent pandemic has been a prime example of what I call the haves and the have-nots. Obviously there are industries which had this contactless business model, depending upon the service and other things, who have done extremely well. But more importantly, I think in the same industry, those people who had created a much more robust digital presence and could modify their digital business process or model very fast, because end of the day, I think speed is of the essence. If you want to launch a new service or a new way of doing business, it should not be months, but it should be close to weeks and days. I think people like Amazon onboard a new partner in less than 30 minutes kind of stuff. So how do you do that? And there's a clear example in the last 2 years of people who in the same industry who had a much better and robust platform-based approach to doing a business, a lot more successful than others who hadn't invested enough, and also their model was not amenable to creation of these platform businesses. So really, exactly what I was talking about. So I mentioned about companies like Amazon, Airbnb, Alibaba, etc. And there were really 4 characteristics which defined these platforms. Okay, I think one is what is called open. That means anybody who wanted to join could join. The technology was open. Right now it's called API, whatever it is, but people could join very quickly. They were infinitely scalable. You could grow from, anybody like a Uber or whatever it is, from 100 drivers and 100 consumers went to whatever it is, 1,000, 1 million, 10 million, etc. So the platform which was created was infinitely scalable. Obviously, that means the architecture which is underlying had to ensure that you create a very highly scalable business. They were connected. That means, they were connecting different ecosystems. If it was banks, drivers, consumers, shoppers. So they could do all that. Now from a cab service, they can quickly become a delivery service, because their whole model was that how do we connect different ecosystems. And the fourth is like intelligent. That means they were based upon like this huge collection of data and the number of transactions, and those transactions were being used to continually look for new value creations, new offerings, and so many other things. So continuously self-improving ecosystem or a platform. So these were the 4 things, I think, which really, I would say, are the foundation of these digitally born companies and the platforms they created. So yeah, so I'll quickly jump into given this, then what does how does one go about doing it for a non let's say digitally born company, where, as I said, you have a huge amount of legacy of, as I said, business process, business model, and people's mindsets, all that kind of stuff. So really, we break it up into 3 stages. One is a stage of how does the enterprise imagine itself in the platform ecosystem. I'll cover a few examples of how this can be done, kind of stuff. But it's all about, you can apply different frameworks. You can apply a framework for saying, how do I measure my platform business model maturity? Saying, have I thought of my business as a platform-based business? Have I thought of myself as I participate in an ecosystem? Who are the participants? And this can be platforms, can be internal. My whole employee ecosystem can be considered a platform ecosystem, as long as you imagine that they are interacting with the platform for a certain value. How do you make the value better for them, and so on and so forth, to external, your consumers, to your partners, to your suppliers, and tertiary ecosystem players, to transporters, a whole lot of stuff. So how do you do that? So the second is really, can you translate that and create what is a long-term digital agenda for the business, both from a business model perspective, business process perspective. Look around and check if there are leading, business industry models, which one can look at, saying what are the best in class, best in breed in the industry in terms of their implementation. You can borrow from the born digital companies in the same industry as what you are in, and so on and so forth. And the next phase is really, how do you, create the digital business solution, or design the future business model and the business process. As I said, that obviously, there are already existing systems, processes, etc., and one can't drastically say that I'll move from point A to point B very quickly. So how do you gradually step through in this journey? But the key is to understand the end goal and end point, saying that I want to reach this stage. So how can my technology facilitate me or change as I move towards the end goal, which I want to go into. So there are, I think, as I said, business models. One can ready-made business models. One can look at, adopt, adapt. There are digital business process libraries available, which will define best in class, digitally, how can one do it? For example, if I want to do a good customer engagement using data as a key driver, what is the best way to do it? What are the channels to do it? What are the algorithms to do it? So there are a whole lot of stuff which are available. So one can look at these things instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and try to figure it all out yourself. There's plenty of that is available. So how do you do that? And then, of course, obviously, then there is the whole execution roadmap, saying what does the future business architecture look like, and what are the aligning long-term technology architecture look like, and then what do I need to do first? What do I need to do next? What do I need to do third? How do I measure the effectiveness of these on some of the digital business goals I have, whether it is better customer engagement, less customer churn, better employee engagement, whatever the metrics one wants to have. How do you keep these metrics and then start measuring them as you implement these roadmaps in place? So this is like, as I said, right. Okay. So I'll go into, some basic steps which are required, what one can do. First is really a current state assessment. As I said, everybody has a current state in terms of what does my current application landscape look like, what does my application architecture look like, infrastructure, what are my current manual processes and current pain points for business. And then, and define all this, and then I'll start applying some of the methods and tools which I will cover to these things to see what the future should look like. So these are just some tools. There are plenty of tools available to do some of these exercises within the organization. So one is like really the platform, design canvas, which starts in a very structured fashion, trying to put, who are the platform owners, who are the platform stakeholders, what are the enabling services, what are the empowering services, what is the core value proposition, what is the ancillary value proposition, what are the transactions which take place between these various entities, what is the current value being lost in these transactions, what is the friction which is there in these things. So this is like I would say a tool which is like, as I said, when you in the previous slide, when I want to look at my current business canvas, how do I look at it from a platform perspective and not from the way I look at my business perspective. So there's a lot more detail. I don't want to cover in detail, but there are various tools and methods available to do these analysis to figure out if I want to take my current business context and put it into a platform business context, how will I describe it, right? So this is what I think people say the difference between defining a platform-based business model and what is called a pipe-based business model, which is a pipe-based business model is a sequential business model, where a platform business model is a more inorganic business model in terms of it is not saying step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, but many steps can happen simultaneously. So it's just a reimagination of your current business itself, the way I am doing it, and if I imagine it from a platform perspective kind of stuff. And the second is really, if I have to describe just one or two processes, like what are my current business flows, and what happens in each flow, and then how do I relate that flow to a customer journey today? How does my customer interact with me? So again, some tools to look at your current way of doing things, so that you can use all this to then figure out in the future what does it look like. You can describe the same in the future, saying this is how I'll do my flows. I may cut some flows out. I may cut some customer journey points out, or how can I deliver better value at each touch point, etc., etc., etc. So when you define the platform, then you're able to look at it from a holistic perspective, also look at it from a platform perspective, and not currently the way we look at it as individual siloed business processes. So again, there are plenty of tools and methods available to do an analysis and put your current business model and business process into a platform perspective. And the third is really then how do I describe it? These are just examples. I'm not of how do I describe my business in an ecosystem. So where do I sit? Who are my core stakeholders? How do I deal with them? Why do they deal with me? What are the values which they expect? What values am I creating today? How easy or difficult it is for me to engage with them? And so on and so forth. So once you identify two things, one is your future ecosystem, where you sit, what are your business, what business models you want to implement in this ecosystem, and then what business processes do you want to focus upon. Then you have almost like a business architecture in the platform context. And you take that, and then obviously then you compare it to your current business architecture. And more importantly, from a technology perspective, how is this reflected in my current technology architecture? And if I have to move this to a platform architecture, what are the steps I need to move? Also, as I mentioned, how do you find out what motivates various participants who participate in the ecosystem, and how do you figure out the value drivers for each participant? So that's key again when you design these, because a lot of times these persona-based thinkings will make us think very differently, because a lot of times we are getting used to a certain way of thinking, and then you think afresh about these personas, and why do they engage with me, what are they looking for, and how can I better then understand their value drivers, will again help you create your interaction points in the platform architecture a lot better. So once you do that, obviously there is again a technology framework one needs to apply, because finally, end of the day, you got to realize all these new business models, processes, engagements, platform architectures, etc. Finally, it has to be realized through implementation of technology, and then that's where I think there's any number of frameworks for you to take, apply your context to saying, end of the day, I need to have a fairly mature technology framework to address these things. And some of these are, I would say, architectural kind of stuff. If I don't have a microservices API-based architecture, or if I don't have a data modernization architecture, whatever I may want to do, I won't be able to do. So it'll help you sense where you are from a technology architecture point of view, so that you also know that if you want to move forward, you need to also improve the maturity of the technology architecture to align to your future platform-based business architecture. I mean, this is typically an end goal site saying, how will my final thing look like, and how do I engage? What are the touch points, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you draw that up so that, and this is where I think all the exercise you have done in the last few slides about, who my consumers are, who my partners are, what are the value drivers, where am I today, how can I deliver better value, what needs tweaking, which will give me more, I think, impact in the short term. So all that will define your implementation roadmap. But the key is to understand the future architecture of your enterprise, saying that this is where I need to get to be completely a platform-based digital business company. And then the roadmap to reach this is really then depends on where you are, what is the ability to spend, how much can you spend immediately, and how much of change is needed, both from a business process perspective and a technology perspective, the risks associated with it. So measure all that, put a roadmap, obviously start checking against each of these elements as you implement these things. It's very critical to understand business metrics which you are driving, so that one doesn't lose sight whether these interventions are actually delivering the value they need to deliver. So yeah, so this is my last few slides. Obviously define these, out of all these, define then from these end goal, what are the programs, what are the costs, what are the digital business goals for each of these initiatives, how do I measure ROI, and how do I actually measure business benefits at various stages of the journey. Again, just an example of how something can look like. You can, typically a lot of people in the how do I say, in the non-born digital companies feel that if they first get their data right, existing data, get it all, or what is called data modernization, or get my data right, because I think the advantage incumbent businesses have is they've been in business for a long time. and hopefully have automated reasonably and have enough data about various things. So how do I start with data modernization, start using that to engage better with different stakeholders as I continue to then reimagine my business from a platform perspective and implement various other fundamentally, structurally different business processes and business models in the long term. It's just an example. This is not this is not a recommended way of doing it, but I'm saying, so if you want to put a roadmap or a journey, that's how one should look at it. And very key is to understand what are the metrics you want to drive at the end of each initiative, and how do you measure these metrics? Because if you're not able to measure the impact of your tech interventions, then I think there will be a bit of challenge in understanding whether you're making the right progress or not. Really, to sum up, what does it need? I think a well-articulated digital agenda. Start by assessing your current digital maturity. Initiate a platform journey through a readiness assessment across business and technology attributes. The business maturity assessment can encompass dimensions across customer centricity, business models, leadership, talent, and execution. Technology assessment across core technology from a foundation perspective, data architecture, and other platform technology characteristics. Reimagine your business products and services by leveraging ecosystems, focus on newer sources of value creation, meaningful customer and ecosystem engagement, thereby resulting in innovative value propositions. Ideally, start by digitizing your core, then create adjacencies that can help accelerate newer growth and business models. Adapt industry-aligned digital business processes, but curate and contextualize them to help orchestrate interactions in your ecosystem. Leverage platform technologies and characteristics as enablers to realize the digital agenda and align digital business processes. Shared vision, obviously, followed by a roadmap with quick wins. Mid and long-term strategic platform initiatives are critical. And then last but not the least, I think to build this a truly digital enterprise based on platforms requires a very holistic change management philosophy across talent, processes, systems, and the encompassing ecosystem. So that's really my last slide, and I kept it not too heavy. I tried to keep it not too heavy. And yeah, thank you all very much for listening. I'm quite happy to listen to your viewpoints, answer any questions you may have, any comments, anything. I don't have any particular format for how we want to do this, but let's keep it engaging and lively.
Sure. So thanks. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So thanks, Srikar. I think that was wonderful, and I think very insightful. But more importantly, I think, because you explained it almost like a toolkit, it was very easy to understand because, it was not just a conceptual pitch. I think in a lot of slides, you almost showed step by step as to how a company needs to, what steps the company needs to follow. So really appreciate that. To the larger audience on the calls, you can either post your questions, which I can, as the moderator, can ask, and Srikar will respond, or you can raise your hand and I will reach out to you and you can ask the question yourself. Both options are completely okay. Let me start by asking one question from my side, Srikar. When a company plans for a digital transformation using the whole platform-based approach, what are some of the risks or what are some of the pitfalls that they should be careful about? What are the 2 or 3 things that come to mind in terms of why companies fail in this journey? That would be interesting for me, and I'm sure many of us to know.
Okay, I have a different take on this, Sanjeev. I think companies fail because they're not bold enough. They're not willing to let go the past very easily, because this is a fairly fundamental shift in thinking and business. So if you want to keep holding on to the past and then you want to ride two horses at the same time, then according to me, that is the biggest risk. Not wanting to do enough is the biggest risk rather than wanting to do enough. So there is no, you got to make that call. I mean, that's my view. But so there's no risk to that extent. Risk is only the other way is my view, that if you don't do it, you may be at a much bigger risk from a survival point of view. And if you do it wrongly, you'll still be okay.
Sure. Wonderful. Thank you, Srikar. So I'm going to be reading a question that has come from Kanchan, and I know Pushpalata, you've raised your hand, so we'll come to you.
And it's also be great if I can know who these people are and what their backgrounds are, etc., so that I can understand the context.
And Kanchan, if you're there on the call, why don't you ask the question yourself, because I can see you on the screen.
Yes, sir. Sanjeev sir, thank you so much. This is such a wonderful session that I'm attending. I'm really thankful to CII Karnataka for holding the CEO session, because it is not very often that we come across CEOs and get to hear their deep insights for nearly half an hour or even 1 hour or so. So deeply thankful to CII. So I'm a part of CII Indian Women Network Karnataka, and co-leading their campus to career pillar, in which we reach across to college students to make them career ready. And in this, I'm also hosting the Women Trailblazers in STEM program, the series over nearly 5 to 6 months now. And my question, and I'm the founder of Loan Genie as well in my other avatar. So my question was that Srikar sir has taken us through a variety of reasons why platforms today like Amazon or Facebook are so super successful, because they're open, they're connected, intelligent platforms. So my query was around, I see these platforms like in Amazon or a Flipkart, especially in India, seems to be like, couple of them, or just, 1 or 2 of them, they seem to have taken over the market.
It's a good question. Actually, these businesses are called winner-take-all businesses.
So it looks like. So I was wondering, is the capital going to be the differentiator? And how do you?
No, I think you need. Obviously, later on, capital becomes a differentiator, but I think the whole thing about this platform is how do you get more and more participants into the ecosystem. There's a new concept called virality. The more viral the platform is, the more successful you are. So you need to get to that stage. Okay. There are these famous flywheel concepts. So you need to get to the flywheel starting to run by itself. So the platform business models are all about getting to that flywheel concept where the flywheel takes off by itself. So if you don't make it there, then you don't make it at all. But if you make it, then obviously, funding and all that makes a difference. And then you become this huge gorilla where I guess it's almost like it's a winner take all. You grab everything around you. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. So Pushpalata, you want to go next? And just for everyone, please, make full use of this session. Please raise your hand or post your questions, whatever works for you. It'll be great to have a lot of questions and gain from Srikar's presence. So Pushpalata, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjeev. Hi, Srikar. This is Pushpa. I run a chain of fertility hospitals called Garbhagudi. We have 5 centers in Bangalore now. Though I'm not a doctor, so I'm an engineer by profession, I'm into healthcare. So when it comes to healthcare and especially hospital, there is always a stigma or a taboo, right? Using technology. So they all find it really difficult for that transition. Maybe, including starting the front office and doctors, we need to educate them a lot. So I just wanted to understand if you have looked at anything on digital transformation for healthcare. See, for growing hospitals or the segments, I understand Apollo and the bigger chains have their own ways and means of adopting to these things. But what is that you suggest for all of us when we are looking at growth expansion? So definitely next 2 years, we are seeing huge expansion opportunity.
So yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you, Pushpalata, is that, I mean, you got to start imagining what ecosystem you operate in. Who are you? Who are your target customers? What are they looking for? What are their value drivers? What is your competition doing? What is their value, this thing? How can I deliver better value? And then how can I then construct a platform which can deliver this to them? Okay. So you got to get to I mean, if you're saying, I want to scale, I want to become big, I want to be present in many places. I mean, I want to be able to deliver services in many places. How do you imagine? Am I physical? Am I digital? What do I leverage? How do I leverage ecosystems? Who am I? What value do I bring to the table? I think you need to look at that fundamentally, because I mean, I'm not a healthcare expert to give you a solution, but what I explained during my session is that you need to start reimagining or imagining, either which way, about who you are, what value you're bringing, who do you serve, what are they looking for, how do I reach them, how can I deliver value to them. Then you figure out, what is this technology platform architecture which can help you achieve that. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
And start doing it. Obviously you can't do it all in one day, but yeah, you start figuring out the things which can deliver immediate value and start building upon it. End of the day, your success will then, as I told the previous questionnaire, will depend on how many participants you get.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the more participants you get, the more successful your platform is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say. But you and your team have to do a lot of hard work.
I understand. So definitely
to figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah. So
but I can only tell you the way you can look at it. That's about it.
Yeah. So definitely when it comes to expansion, right now it's an hybrid, no? That it's online, the online platform which we're leveraging for all our video consultations, and then physical consultations for all the patients who wants to meet doctor personally for next level of treatment. So it's a hybrid combination. So just wanted to understand.
So you can understand ecosystem. You can offer, you can connect to labs, you can connect to pharmacies. I mean, you can, there are a lot of things. I
understand. Yeah.
You can just imagine yourself that you're sitting in the middle, you got somebody, and how do I serve my people who participate on my platform? There can be a lot of ideas, but what I'm saying is you need to go to the drawing board. You and a team have to brainstorm, come up with some ideas, look at the implementation, see what creates value. But don't think in a very siloed approach. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Srikar.
Yeah. So I think there's a comment from Soundarya, talking about the nice flow and explain very sequentially and easy to understand. So thanks, Soundarya. If you have a comment, please feel free to go ahead. And I have a question, Srikar, and when it comes to transforming a traditional company, I think you talked about the pipe business. So when it comes to digitally transforming a traditional company into platform-based, model, which are some of the benchmark, companies or organizations globally or Indian that are supposed to have done a fantastic job? And if you have to identify one or two key drivers as to what made that happen, of course, you said, they need to be bold and do more and not less. But any one or two things that really differentiated them or made them so successful. But a couple of examples of, the benchmark companies that made this journey from traditional to platform, if you can share something around that.
I mean, they have not really, I would say not transformed fully to a platform company, but I think I can think of retailers like Home Depot, retailers like Target. I can't think of any Indian companies who are traditional companies or really, because in India, I think we have our own ecosystem, and I think where our cost of various things are so low that some of these still don't play out as effectively, and then the access to this heavy technology is still not available with everybody to do it. But some of them have really, I think, transformed themselves. Definitely Home Depot, from, you can create your own stuff online, how your house looks like. They give you ideas for design. You can order it. You can, the whole engagement model for consumers, of how they work with consumers, has changed. Obviously, they've also got in their suppliers onto the thing ecosystem. So the supply chain from you as a consumer to their supplier, I think, has cut through in terms of, it's almost like when you are the consumer order, actually the order is straight away going to their supplier kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of models which have changed, both from serving the consumer better and serving the supply chain at the back end, because end of the day, that's the platform, which is, and some of them are actually have models now where they make the supplier supply to you, the consumer, directly, without even it coming into my infrastructure, my warehouse, my store, etc. So these are, I think, some fundamental business model changes they've done. And I mean, they haven't called it platform-based transformation, but if you just abstract it out and see what they have done, they've actually created this ecosystem model.
Sure. Thank you, Srikar. So Aparna, you have posted a question. You want to ask that yourself?
Hi. Sorry, this was with family, so I thought I'd just send it out. Thank you, Srikar, and thank you, Sanjeev, for coordinating this. My question was really about sustainable practices. I just have a vested interest here. I was looking at, bringing sustainable solutions. I'm a trainer and a coach, and a lot of my clients today are looking at sustainable practices. So I, have to use frameworks that help them deliver better sustainable solutions. So I was just wondering, what exactly are your thoughts in terms of sustainability itself, sustainable and practices and sustainability as a market in India? And do you see work coming that way? And what exactly possibly is Sonata's role in adopting sustainable practices as well? I hope it's not too far out from your...
It's okay. We have actually invested recently in a sustainability platform, but that's separate. But yeah, we hope that it takes off. People adopt it. But I think, I think as citizens of the world, I don't think we have an option but to at least leave the world at the same level as what we inherited it. I don't think there is any doubt about it now. So and it is now, I think, becoming at least mainstream with the big enterprises, I think, world over. So for one is, as a citizen, I don't think we have a choice. And second is, I think enterprises are taking upon themselves that they want to be better citizens and do all those 17 goals or whatever of the UN SDG and so on and so forth. Everybody is measuring them and all that kind of stuff. Investors are now saying, there are companies, I don't want to name them. They're very successful now, but they make products which people don't like. So even if they declare huge profits quarter after quarter, their stock price doesn't go up.
Yeah.
Okay. So investors are careful. Hopefully soon consumers will start beating these companies down. I mean, you don't buy these products. That's about it. So I mean, that's where I think we should go at some point in time, where consumers themselves will be more ethical or whatever it is, saying that, if people publish a carbon footprint on their product, if you buy a soap, if it may cost 2 rupees, but if its carbon footprint is 200 rupees, you won't buy it. You shouldn't buy it. I mean, yeah. Right?
Yes.
So I don't think, not related to this topic, but yeah, I don't think they're the choice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So with that, I think, we come to the end of the session. I do want to take this opportunity once again to thank Srikar for taking his time out. As everyone can imagine, Srikar leads a very busy, schedule, and taking this time out is great and wonderful, Srikar. On behalf of CII and on behalf of all the participants here, I really want to thank you. It goes without saying that this program could not have been held successfully without each one of the participating actively and asking questions, etc. So sincere thanks to all the participants. I think it's wonderful, and I think some of the questions were very good as well. I do want to take this opportunity to also thank a few people who helped with organizing this event. One is the CII secretariat that we have, which helps us with these. Prashant and Julian Daniel, who is there on the call, played a very critical role, and she's the one who did all the heavy lifting and organized this. I also want to thank a couple of my colleagues at Wipro who helped me with and work with Julian and me, and some of us worked together to make this happen. We did a call with Srikar earlier. Parminder Kakriya is there on the call, so thanks, Parminder. I do not know if Asma Sudhakar is there on the call or not, but thanks to her as well. So thanks everyone once again. It's great that we could do this call. I think virtual, while it lacks a little bit of personal connect, but it's very efficient, and the time that it takes, it's very efficient, right? So we can do many more. So with that, thanks everyone. And I see Prashant. So Prashant, I'll give you the last word, but before that, thanks everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and thanks for making this session successful. And Prashant, I hand it over to you. And Julian, if you guys want to say anything, please feel free.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for leading this interaction. And I would just leave it there since you've concluded. Thank you very much, everyone, and speaker, sir, for joining and addressing this important interaction. Thank you very much, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prashant. Julian, you have something to add before we...
Nothing, all concluded well. Thank you so much. It was a great session. Look forward for the next. Thank you.
Wonderful. So thanks everyone. Have a good rest of the evening, and you take care, and take care of your health. Exercise regularly, eat well, and spend some time with your families. So thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you everyone.